Hello and Assalamualaikum. You are joining us on the Palestinian Diaries podcast with me, Tasnim Lokman. And it's been a horrible past few weeks following the attacks and destruction at Gaza City by the Israeli occupation. So we're going to get down to it. We're going to talk about what's been happening there and as well here in Malaysia. And with me to talk about it and discuss further on the issue is Muslim Imran, the founding director of Asia Middle East Center for Research and Dialogue. It's an independent think tank based in Malaysia here, and you guys have networks all over the world. And thank you so much, Muslim, for joining us. It's been a very heavy, aggressive few weeks.
Yeah, thank you, Tasneem.
I'm so sorry this is happening, and as we know, it may continue till we don't know when. So let's start off firstly, I think everybody here wants to know just how was it possible for Hamas to penetrate into the Israeli border, into the music festival that started all this aggressive fighting?
Okay, thank you very much, Tasneem, for having me. And I think it's important to frame the narrative the right way, I would say.
Yes.
The Palestinians in Gaza have been besieged for over 16 years. The Palestinians in Gaza and the West Bank have been under military occupation for almost 6 decades.
Yes.
The Palestinians in general have been under foreign colonization for a century, over 100 years. Throughout the past 75 years particularly, Israel has been committing all sorts of war crimes, genocide, murder, destruction, detention, etc. And recently, Israel's nature as an apartheid colonial state became very visible, especially after the right wing took over in Israel. So Israeli leaders have been threatening to wipe out Palestinians and Palestinian towns for a while now, including one Israeli minister, cabinet minister, who threatened to wipe out Hawara, a town in the West Bank. And this was not only an empty threat, because these are religious and nationalist zealots. They actually do what they say. So for a while, Gaza has been under huge pressure. The Palestinians in the West Bank have been under huge pressure. 250 were murdered in the West Bank. Extrajudicial killings committed by the Israeli military. Mainly young children were murdered. Al-Aqsa Mosque was being desecrated regularly by the Israeli settlers and Israeli uniformed soldiers and police officers. So the resistance in Gaza realized that it has to take action, otherwise Israel's policies will go further.
Yes.
So here comes the preemptive military operation, which the Palestinian resistance dubbed as Tawfan al-Aqsa or Al-Aqsa Flood. It was a professional military operation targeting Israeli military installments and sites in the border region of Gaza in order to capture Israeli soldiers and to probably put an end to Israel's insane activities in Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem.
Okay. And I think there is this perception. I definitely agree with you. This is a resistant action in results to the 75 years of aggression. But I think so many people just want to understand, because Israel is considered to be the biggest weapon and war funded by the United States and things like that. And and they have the latest technology. How did Hamas manage to penetrate the border?
Israel is an advanced military and it has all the necessary economic as well as technological capabilities. We all agree on that. In fact, Israel's military receives $3.8 billion of American military aid per year.
Yes.
So this is an outside external support to their military. In addition to the fact that Israeli public goes for conscription. Almost 3 million are reservists, in addition to those who are in active service. So we are talking about a very militarized society with high tech available at their disposal. However, technology isn't everything. Humans err, for instance, and it's not enough to have the technology if you know you're wrong and you're afraid to fight a battle. This is what happened on the 7th of October when the Palestinian resistance fighters, who were very disciplined, of course, in executing their operation, stormed into the Israeli military sites. They were faced in the beginning by fierce Israeli resistance, but eventually their military southern command crumbled like a house of cards. So Israel has been portraying the image of a tiger, but eventually everybody now realizes it's a paper tiger. They have technology, but they know they're wrong. They're occupying other people's land. They're committing apartheid. And to many Israeli soldiers, actually, the young cadets now who are cursing Netanyahu whenever he visits their military sites. You just check the news. To many of them, they know they are fighting the wrong war. Why should they be chasing children in the streets of the West Bank to shoot them? Why should they be besieging the Gaza Strip, creating an unimaginable life in the crowded Palestinian territory in Gaza? There are 2.3 million Palestinians who live in the largest open-air prison in the world. So for many of them, they are doing wrong. Of course, there is human failure. There are political problems within the Israeli society. There is this schism between the establishment and some of the right-wing political parties. We've seen their judicial crisis over the last few months.
They have been protesting, and even the people were going up against the ministers and, like arguing with them and things like that. We saw it all on the videos on social media. But
and it's funny that some in the West especially frame the crisis in Israel as a struggle for democracy. Israel has never been a democracy in the first place. Israel has always been a Jewish-only democracy. So for them, the millions of Palestinians under their control, whether citizens or military occupation subjects, they have never been accepted as part of this democracy. So the Israeli society is having these crises, these judicial, political, religious, and other conflicts. And therefore, their response has been very lousy, of course. Military response was a big failure. Military strategy is absent. That's why what they're doing in Gaza now is absolute madness. They are not actually responding to a military attack with a military attack. They are destroying homes, mosques, commercial buildings, shopping malls, houses of worship. They are just out to unleash terror on innocent civilians. If they were serious about countering the military attack of the Qassam fighters, they should go to the battlefield and fight Qassam fighters. But they're not doing so. They are bombarding mosques, hospitals. Yesterday they bombarded ambulances and they killed many paramedics, journalists in southern Lebanon, because the situation developed even in Lebanon. They killed Al Jazeera correspondents in the border area, and even though everybody in the world knows that journalists have their sites, their dresses, protocols, etc. So Israel's response is one of madness. It's a desperate response that is trying to save face because of the embarrassment, of course, big technologies, big military spending, and eventually in the battlefield, a few thousand, probably a few hundred Palestinian freedom fighters managed to crush their southern command.
There's a lot of Western propaganda going on about Hamas being a terrorist group, and this actually has been debated for a long time. So maybe I could get a detailed explanation from you, like exactly how I understand Hamas is a politically elected government in Gaza, but specifically why are they continuously being categorized as a terrorist group?
Hamas was elected in both the Gaza and the West Bank. In 2006, an election was held. It won an overwhelming majority and was able to form a government. But due to internal Palestinian differences and external Western pressure and rejection of the result of our elections and democracy, things developed, and now we have some sort of a political polarization and division within the Palestinian context. So Hamas is a political movement in the first place. Its members are in the hundreds of thousands. Its institutions are all civilian institutions, educational, social, welfare, media, political bureau, etc. It's a civilian institution. However, it maintains an armed wing because we are under occupation. Just like every other Palestinian political faction, be it socialist, nationalist, Islamist, they all have their own military wing. Islamic Jihad, Fatah, Popular Front, Democratic Front, they all have their own military outfit in order to counter the Israeli occupation. So Hamas, following this Palestinian tradition, has its own military wing, the Qassam Brigades, which for the past 2 decades has been building its capabilities to counter Israeli aggression and attacks. In the case of Gaza, because Hamas has been the governing party in Gaza for almost 16 or 17 years, the Palestinian resistance fighters were able to build their capabilities further because of the conducive environment. However, in the West Bank, Qassam brigades and other resistance factions face difficulties because of the direct Israeli military occupation. So you see them in Jenin or Nablus. They're trying. It's just that the environment isn't as conducive as that in Gaza. But eventually the Hamas movement and leadership it's a political movement, and the whole fight that is taking place in Palestine is not because Palestinians love to see blood or death. It's because there is a political goal that all Palestinians are aspiring to see, which is a free Palestine. So if this is addressed, if we have justice, peace will certainly prevail.
What is the form of justice for you? Because a lot of people are proposing the 2-state policy, but what is actually a form of justice for all the Palestinians?
Those who jump to the end, point miss important milestones. The peace process, for instance, or the 2-state solution, or whatever solution, were always brought up in order to address the root cause of the problem. What is the root cause of the problem? Occupation. Israel was built upon our own homeland, using genocide, ethnic cleansing, the destruction of 500 Palestinian cities and towns, the killing of thousands, the expelling of hundreds of thousands, and which we call Nakba. So Nakba should be addressed. The few million Palestinian refugees who continue to be in exile is a problem that should be addressed. They have to return home, regardless of where they were from the West Bank, Gaza, or inside 1948 territories. They have to go back home. The ongoing Israeli apartheid policies and restrictions, detention of more than 5,000 Palestinians, the attempts to desecrate Al-Aqsa and divide it, all these problems should be addressed. Then we achieve justice. But if we come and impose a solution and say, the Palestinians have to stop their resistance and they have to accept this or that offer. The Palestinians tried that before. In the early 1990s, the late Yasser Arafat, the leader of the PLO, negotiated a peaceful settlement with Israel. He ended Fatah's resistance in particular, and they went into a long peace process. Israel was interested in the process, while Palestinians were interested in the peace. Eventually, in 30 years, as we speak now, more than 30 years, we have neither achieved the peace nor justice. If the root cause was addressed, if occupation ended, if refugees returned home, if Al-Aqsa was respected, none of this would have been happening.
I just want to understand, during the intrusion by Hamas into Israeli occupied land, we understand what we've been talking about on the media is continuously about the rave, the music festival. But I understand that they went further in, like the Qassam brigades went further into Israel areas.
Settlements.
Settlements. Can we understand, because a lot of people are missing, according to them. So who are all these people, and what's the situation there when we talk about, because we know a lot of people were killed as well during that time. Maybe you could explain to me, to all of us, what's the strategy there?
You see, there is an ongoing war of narratives now.
Okay.
The Israeli side, along with the American and Western side, tried to frame the Palestinian resistance in very negative context.
Okay.
They tried to frame the Palestinians in a very negative context. They start talking about 40 babies beheaded by the Palestinian resistance. Not a single photo has been shown until now.
And even the United States White House backtracked on Biden's statement.
Because it was a lie.
Yeah.
It was a lie to frame the Palestinian resistance as if it was similar to ISIS.
Yes.
When there's a stark difference. If you are an ISIS member in Gaza, you will probably end up in jail, in the Hamas administration jails.
All right.
So they tried to frame the Palestinians this way. They talked a lot about what happened to civilians. But until now, 10 days, 11 days later, they have not been able to show enough video or graphic evidence.
Yeah.
It was good that the Palestinian fighters had a lot of cameras on them.
Yeah.
Either phones or personal cameras, which showed that they were actually targeting soldiers.
Okay.
It was very clear that they were targeting soldiers. They were there on a very specific mission to capture Israeli soldiers. And the attack was, at first, at Israeli military sites. But Israel's army crumbled like a house of cards.
Okay.
So Palestinian fighters, especially those who were not part of this mission, because the border was just opened.
Okay.
And
people just ran.
People went in. Everybody went in. Many people were happy to go back to their homelands. For the first time in 70 years, they were able actually to visit their own homeland. So there are claims of such incidents, but there is not enough proof that the Palestinian fighters actually targeted civilians.
Mm-hmm.
The videos that we have circulating all over media prove otherwise, prove the opposite, prove that the Palestinian resistance fighters treated babies very well, treated women with respect, to the extent that one of them asked for permission to eat a banana in this Israeli settler's house. She said this on TV. There are videos now and audios of Israeli settlers being interviewed by Israeli TVs saying that we were actually shot at by the Israeli military when they saw the Palestinian fighters who were not interested in killing civilians but rather capturing soldiers. There are a lot of material circulating now.
Okay,
1 week later.
Why would, if the Palestinian, if the Hamas soldiers were kept, taking the civilians, taking the, what do you call that word, captives, why were the Israeli soldiers shooting at them?
Where they kill all captives along with their captors. So when Palestinians capture Israeli soldiers, Israel bombs or shoots to kill everybody. And it happened repeatedly, not one time. In the last week, it happened several times. And some were killed while they were on their way back to Gaza. Some were killed while they were in Gaza in this mass destruction that's taking place now, the aerial attacks. Some were killed by fire inside Israeli settlements. And there are audios and videos now of interviews with Israeli women who are actually saying this. They're saying that the Palestinian fighters treated us nicely, with respect. No violence was used. It was Israel's military that stormed into our place and started shooting everybody. So the target was military targets. It was very clear. All video evidence show that. It's just that in a war, there are casualties.
Yeah.
But let's count how many civilian casualties were there on both sides in this war. Or let's count how many children casualties.
Yeah, I'm talking about children.
There are 1,000 Palestinian children killed in only 1 week, 10 days.
10 days.
How many Israeli children were killed in the Palestinian resistance attacks? I want the Israeli side to show evidence, show us photos or names of these children and their ages. They spoke a lot about this 40 babies
they did.
Lie. They couldn't prove it to be true.
You're talking about children. 50% of Palestinian society are children, right? So what's the situation there? As the families are being wiped out, what's going on with the children? Because we've seen in hospitals they couldn't move the children because they were under intensive care and things like that. What's the ground situation actually?
You see, the Gaza Strip is a very crowded territory. And it's like a concrete jungle. So many houses next to each other. And half of our population are children.
Yes.
if you drop any bomb anywhere, you're most certainly going to kill children.
Okay.
That's why almost half of the casualties, or 1/3 of them, are children.
Okay.
You drop a bomb to a shelter, for instance, a school. Now they've bombed at least 20 schools.
Okay.
Some United Nations
20
facilities.
schools.
Yeah. Many mosques, including the Malaysian-built mosques
Yes.
in Gaza. If you drop a bomb on a school, of course you're killing children and women. If you drop a bomb on a residential building, a 20-story residential building, who do you expect to die at home? Fighters will be down fighting in the field. You are killing civilians. They know they are killing civilians. If they want to kill fighters, they would rather go for a ground invasion, which they have been deliberating about for a week now or 10 days.
Yes.
They want to go in or not go in. It's still unclear, because their experience inside Israeli military camps was very bitter. There are many video evidences now. One of them has just been released yesterday, showing how the Palestinian young fighters, 20, 21, 22 years old, stormed into Israeli military camps, and in some occasions the Israeli soldiers were hiding under the bed or under the desk.
Oh, wow.
In order not to face the Palestinian fighters. How exactly are these Israeli soldiers going to occupy Gaza or reoccupy Gaza again with tens of thousands of Palestinian resistance fighters? They can't. That's why they're killing civilians.
And the use of white phosphorus.
That's also another war crime.
Yeah.
But that's not new to Israel, actually.
Okay.
They've used it in previous wars. They've used it in southern Lebanon. They're using it again now in Gaza, because nobody is stopping them from using it. And the world now should actually worry about what Israel is doing, because if
they can do it there, they can do it anywhere.
If things develop in Russia-Ukraine war further,
and
either party starts to use all these illegal, internationally banned weapons, chemical or biological or whatever, what moral grounds does the world have when they come and tell them don't use it? When Israel is using it right now?
Yes.
When they come and preach about democracy and human rights all over the third world, what moral high grounds will they have when they are seeing us being slaughtered, our children being massacred, and they're not silent? The West in this incident isn't silent. The West is complicit.
Yes.
The killing in Gaza now is happening because of the political cover that Israel got from Western countries.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike previous occasions when the West was friendly, sympathetic to Israel, but this time around they are threatening to send soldiers.
Yeah.
The US yesterday threatened to send 2,000 soldiers to fight in Gaza. They are sending their warships. What for? We have nothing to do with the Americans. We have no issues with the Americans. In fact, we like American movies and we eat American food and we have no issues with them. Why do they want to pick a fight with us?
Okay. I just want to come back here in Malaysia for a second. On October 16, a mall in Johor got a bomb threat. And many are saying it's linked to Palestine and Israel, the situation there. So maybe you have some info on that, or what's happening, because last year there was reports of Mossad and Israel being in Malaysia, and as well as there's been assassinations happening in Malaysia as well, involving Palestinians by suspected Mossad members. So what's the story there?
Of course, Mossad is a rogue security instrument.
Okay.
They are designed to commit crimes abroad.
Okay.
They have this military doctrine of stand and kill first. If they feel that anything would harm them, they would actually strike first. And they don't mind, of course, killing civilians, undermining other countries' sovereignty. This is what they do. This is what the Mossad has been doing for decades. Now, of course, they perpetrated some crimes in Malaysia. They assassinated a Palestinian scientist. Yeah. And recently, they tried to kidnap some Palestinian students.
Yes.
However, I feel that the Malaysian authorities, especially the security agencies and police, have done a great job in countering the Mossad attempts and infiltration. And I hope they continue doing this good job. Now, Probably Mossad feels they have to scare the Malaysian people from continuing their support for Palestine. I mean, you have seen in the news recently, yesterday, the statement of the Prime Minister, or the statements of other ministers. It was very strong against Israel's attack, and the Prime Minister like literally mentioned that we are under Western pressure to condemn the Palestinian operation, but we are not going to condemn it because we have ties with the Hamas and other Palestinians, and we support their struggle. So Israel is probably trying to, in a way, twist Malaysia's arm in these indirect, cheap stunts by phone calls threatening to do this or that. But I believe the authorities will chase whoever caused this,
Do you think, how would Malaysians be able to identify if that person is maybe involved with Mossad or the Israel forces?
For the layman, it's of course impossible to identify who is this or who's that. But of course, for authorities, I'm very sure they are working very hard to chase all these possible potential infiltrators. And Israel's Mossad is known to recruit subjects of different countries to work for their own interests. They have done that in Iran, they have done that in Malaysia, they have done that in some other countries. So we have to be vigilant and make sure that they don't come in. Whatever way they use, they should be pushed away. And you give them face, you give the Israelis face, they will certainly undermine your sovereignty. This is happening to the countries that normalized relations with Israel. They opened up to Israel, then Israel started to undermine their own stability, like Jordan.
Yes.
In the mid-1990s, Jordan normalized relations with Israel.
Yes.
In 1996, Israel tried to assassinate a Palestinian leader, Khalid Mash'al, in Jordan. So this is what Israel does. That's why it's very important to actually be careful of this aggressive entity.
Normalizing the relationship with the other the other countries normalizing a relationship with Israel. A lot of Muslim countries started doing that as well. Over the past few years, like, do you think they should take a step back, or how can that happen? Why are they doing that?
I believe they should think for themselves. Israel used to scare many Arab and Muslim countries. Many countries were scared of Israel's technology and capabilities. After the 7th of October, I think they should rethink their approach toward Israel. Israel's army was shattered. Its intelligence failed. It proved to be a paper tiger. So why should those countries scared of Israel continue normalizing with it? And for those countries that normalized relations with Israel because of potential economic gains, let's look at some examples. Egypt normalized relations with Israel in the late 1970s. How much economic progress did Egypt make since then? Jordan did the same. Jordan now is very reliant and dependent on Israel on its water, even though the name of the river is River Jordan. But Israel now started to control water supply and other things. Economy didn't prosper. So other countries that think their problems will be solved by being friendly to Israel are dreaming. Neither economic progress nor security improvements will happen. Israel will take advantage of you. This is what Israel has been doing in many countries. In Africa, for instance, in Latin America, they thrive on problems. Israel is a security, a creation of colonial powers. It's a security entity. I mentioned that 3 million or so are army reservists. Another few hundred thousands are in military service. In addition to the Shabak, the Mossad, this and that agency, their technologies are mainly military technologies. So this is a security regime, a very militarized society and regime. They thrive on problems. They don't thrive on economic prosperity and peace. They don't come here to build cultural relations. They look for problems. They look in Africa and Latin America in particular for instability problems. This is where they try to penetrate.
And what do you think about them using anti-Semitism as an excuse to justify their attacks?
I think they have really misused and abused the fact that many of them are Jews.
Yeah.
The Jewish people were persecuted in Europe. The pogroms, the Holocaust happened to them in Europe.
Yes.
Many of them were persecuted. But what Israel is doing now has nothing to do with any of that. What Israel is doing now is actually a Zionist regime committing these crimes in the name of Judaism and in the name of the Holocaust against other innocents.
Mm-hmm.
So Israel is using these terms to scare off anybody. Criticizing Israel is not anti-Semitism. It definitely is not anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism is a problem that started in Europe. It's a product of the racism that was rising within the European society. One of the responses was a Jewish nationalist movement called Zionism, which is also a fascist movement itself that arose and started in Europe.
Yeah.
So the whole Israel thing is actually a European problem.
Okay.
It's not our problem. It was a European problem that was thrown onto us.
It's like continuous colonialism.
Exactly. And to come and claim that we are anti-Semitic is ridiculous because Arabs are Semitic in the first place. We are Semitic.
Okay.
And so what if we are Semitic? Who has right? I like to quote what Dr. Mahathir sometimes says.
Okay.
You cannot just say you cannot criticize me because I am Semitic or because I am Malay or because I am Indian.
Yeah.
No, you can criticize me if you have actually substantial criticism. But just because I'm from this race or that race, I cannot be criticized. This is just ridiculous.
Yeah, definitely.
So we have no issues with the Jewish people.
Okay.
The people who worship the same God that we worship, the people of the book are well respected in Islam. Palestinians, be it Muslims or Christians, have no issues with followers of the Jewish faith. We have an issue with followers of Zionism.
Okay.
Zionism is a political movement, a fascist political movement that is using the Jewish religion, just like ISIS used to use the Islamic scriptures and kill innocents. Israel, the Zionist state, is actually using and misusing and abusing Jewish scriptures to kill innocent Palestinians. So we have no issues with them if they came in peace in past. And right now, there are many Jewish movements, Orthodox Jewish movements in Israel and abroad who are anti-Israel and who are demonstrating in support of Palestine. And there are videos now circulating of the Israeli police beating up some of these Orthodox Jews because they are protesting against Israel's attacks on the Palestinians. So our issue is actually with Zionism.
Okay, so before we end, that was quick, but before we end, I just want to talk to you about the current things that are going on online in the internet. So a lot of people are sharing and posting and creating awareness about the whole situation in Gaza and also the destruction caused by Israeli occupiers. But there's also the issue of bringing the awareness down into society, like when you wear physical merchandise of you show that you support Palestine, like just like how you support your football team, you wear their jerseys, you wear outfits symbolizing Palestine and things like that. How do you feel that when fashion brands do that, are they actually opportunistic or taking advantage of the whole situation, or you think if the donations go straight to Palestine as well, do you think it should be continuously done? What do you think about issues like that?
I'm actually proud of Malaysian solidarity.
Okay.
I see the Palestinian flag all over the place.
Okay.
While driving to your studio just now, I saw the Palestinian flag in restaurants, in offices, hanging from windows, from homes. The amount of solidarity is huge. So I believe what is happening is good.
Okay.
Let whatever businesses, whatever celebrities, whatever activists, whatever political groups, let them raise the Palestinian flag. It's good. They are expressing their solidarity with a just cause. The Palestinian flag is not exclusive to the Palestinian people alone.
Okay.
It's now a symbol of struggle. It's a symbol of a just cause. So let people express their solidarity. It's us individuals everywhere feeling good about our own solidarity when we raise the Palestinian flag. It's not only about the Palestinians.
Yeah.
So I'm very happy to see the Palestinian flag all over the place. Whoever is selling the Palestinian muffler, flags, adopting some Palestinian themes into their own fashion, into their own food items. That is good. Please keep doing it. I saw kunafa outlets all over Bukit Bintang now selling Palestinian food, some selling maqluba. I'm so happy to see that because Israel tried to
kill the culture,
steal the culture.
They
tried very hard.
It's funny because whenever I see like best foods to taste in Israel, and there's like hummus
and ful,
yes,
and falafel, which are all Palestinian.
Exactly. I was like, what? Why? Like,
we don't mind sharing a plate with anybody. If the Jews came in peace to share our plates, we had no issues with them. Palestine historically was a land of diversity. There were Jewish people who actually lived temporarily during ancient times in Palestine. But there are Canaanites, the Arabs of all different lineages. So Palestine is a land of diversity. It's the land of the three monotheistic religions, Islam, Christianity, and Judaism. We have no issues with other people of other faiths. But we have a problem with a group coming to say that Palestine is ours alone. This food belongs to us and you don't belong here.
And you need to leave.
We're not going to give them a hard time. And this is what Palestinians have been doing. We are not going to go down in history like the Red Indians. Bless their souls. We are not going to go down in history as a nation that gave up. We're going to give them a good fight.
Okay, all right. So thank you so much for being here and joining us today for the discussion. And you hear that, you guys. You have to identify what is wrong and what is right. And we have to keep on sharing and acknowledging and pushing the awareness of the Palestinian struggles. And we have to just keep on fighting. But there's a question, like everybody, I'm sorry, before we end, there's always this question, how long will this last? How long can you guys face this?
Before the 7th of October, I always felt that the day that Israel's apartheid and colonization will end was soon, but I always pictured it to be 10 to 20 years. But now I see that happening sooner.
All right.
Because, again, Israel proved to be a paper tiger.
So it might come sooner than much later.
It will.
Down
soon.
All right. Inshallah, we all want to see the war and the destruction and we don't want to see genocide. We want to see everybody surviving this fight and bring peace to the whole world. Okay, all right. Inshallah, everything hopefully will turn out well. And that's the end of our podcast. Hope you guys watch past episodes of the Palestinian Diaries on our YouTube channel and website. Thank you so much.